Okay, so the biggest defensive addition this year will be to work on our straight up mark defense. This is a high risk and high reward defense. Sometimes it's going to get burned. Sometimes it's going to make our opponents look really bad. That's sort of the purpose. Is eventually we're going to get this to a point where we get more turnovers out of our opponents. So before we get into some of the setups here, I want to talk a little bit about the rationale so we know what we're trying to do with this defense. First, it's going to add another look. We want to get our opponents out of the comfort zone of just forcing one way, which all teams are used to attacking. Everybody sees a forehand force regularly, and when we sit in that defense, it's comfortable for us, but it's also really comfortable for the other opponents to get free looks. The other thing that this defense is going to attempt to do for us is just try to prevent hucks and slow down a hucking game, allow some more help, and to contain these teams, slow them down, make them work side to side instead of having open looks downfield against us. So this will be one of our weapons to try to slow down teams that are big and with big throwers. Definitely we're forcing throws to be side to side instead of up and down the field. Here's the area that the marker is taking away. We want them to be flaring things out, giving opportunity for poaches or even to stop those throws entirely and slow down an offense. The other thing this offense will do is it'll force handlers to make throws against a mark. We find that most of the turnovers come because of execution errors. We want these throwers throwing under a little bit of more pressure. We want them to we want to take them out of their offensive timing so that when that person is open on this side and he goes to throw it, and if we can take that away in different ways, the whole offensive rhythm and timing is thrown off. So when done well, this defense can really frustrate the opponents. So we're going to force them to throw under more pressure, execute their throws more quickly, leading to more errors. They'll also realize that they have smaller windows with which to throw with, so we're going to force these throwers to make a lot of mental mistakes too. So let's talk a little bit about the role of each person here. The marker obviously is the key person in this defense. They can't take away side-to-side throws here. You don't want to be too out of position. You do want to back up a little bit so that if you do move side to side, the thrower can't just seal you off and throw right past you. So it's really important to back off just a little bit on your mark. Probably have 12 to 18 inches. Even some people will do this 2 feet away. Just to make sure that this area is covered first. And you want to make small adjustments side to side, not overcommitting, unless you're talked to by your sideline to do something different. So that's another thing that becomes more critical in this defense is sideline communications. They're going to tell you right or backhand, left or forehand, or middle to tell you where your threats are. The other big call on this defense is the big call, obviously. So say no huck or big, they know there's someone open deep, and this person's going to try to get it off on either side. So you know those big steps that they take to get around you need to be challenged. And often what will happen is the person will make 2 or 3 fakes and eventually launch something up that was open 2 seconds ago but now has been covered. So again, we're trying to force people to make bad decisions, make throwing errors, execution errors under pressure. So everyone will be working a lot on sideline communication this year to help improve these straight up marks. So let's talk about what happens downfield. The primary responsibility on the huck and to pressure the huck is going to be on the marker. These people, our downfield defenders, are going to shade on the in cuts. These side lanes are going to be open somewhat, so we need to cheat in somewhat Again, each person is going to have to recognize their matchup. So if you're on a really tall, fast player and you're not, then you may want to be a little bit more honest. We can expect the marker to take away and pressure a lot of these. A lot of these throws will go up, and they'll go up inaccurately. But if you're at a disadvantage to your defender, to the person you're covering, you need to be a little bit more honest. But we do, generally speaking, want to cheat in and force them to put up something big against a strong, straight-up mark, which is going to be very difficult to execute. The other thing to know about this defense is that it will generally be used up to a certain point in the field, maybe midfield or slightly beyond, and then we might switch to something more conservative, or where we're not as afraid that the team will huck. In fact, when a team gets past the midfield area, you don't care if they put up a big throw. That's kind of the risk reward we want them to go for, because they're threatening our end zone. So we want them to try something a little bigger. So generally this will be called for either a certain number of throws or up to a certain position on the field. The other videos will talk about how we sag and help in this defense, which will also help stop offensive flow and timing. So.